Hello and welcome to our little Facebook Live, Instagram Live, potentially other lives as well. If you're here in the building, do feel free to come and sit with us at the front. Fuzz and I have both washed this morning. Fuzz smells particularly fragrant, I'd like to say. We've got a little bit of housekeeping just to welcome you all here on live in person, live online. We've got obviously our friends at Haggerty here today. If you want to go and talk to them, get an insurance quote for your car, you can. Got lovely Trevor from Castrol at the back. He's here to advise you on oils and anything you want to know about fuels and E10 and things of that nature. We've also got our friends at Fast and Funded. They'll be down. So if you see a car that you like, that you can't quite afford, I'm having that sensation a lot this morning. Kurt and Linda, they will talk to you and they will help you to find the missing money that you need for the car of your dreams. Don't turn over my script because I need that. I can't remember. I'm not like you. So a couple of other bits. I'm going to be auctioning this lovely 1977 Mitsubishi. Later on today, it's lot 58. So if you're watching live online, you'll see me put that through. I've never auctioned before. Could go horribly wrong. Probably be some questionable legal outcomes from that. And somebody might get a very cheap car. So watch that, if only for the comedy. Also, a little bit after that, we've got a Skoda that's going through. And all of the profits for that car are going to be for the lovely people of Ukraine. So if you haven't bid on a classic car before, there is still time to register. We've got all the time in the world. Even when the auction starts, you can still register for the lots that come after the auction begins. So you are well within your time limit to register, bid, and raise some money for a wonderful cause. And finally, as I go through here, we're going to talk about if you've never bought at an auction before. So first, let's talk about buying at auction. It's not as scary as people think, is it?
Absolutely, it's not. I mean, it couldn't be simpler. So register to bid, give all your details over, and then when the car comes up that you want to make a bid on, if you're on the telephone, do it that way, or online, just make the bid that you're happiest with, and just hope that you win it. If you're down here, just raise your paddle and hope that nobody else outbids you. So it's a great way of buying as well because you can just duck out as soon as you want to. So, you know, today there are a couple of cars, a couple of vehicles here that are taking my fancy. I'll be bidding, but if they go beyond where I'm comfortable and beyond where my wife will allow me to bid to, then I will be ducking out unless I can borrow a few quid from you, Paul.
Well, I'll go Fast and Funded, mate. They've got money for everyone. Fast and Funded is what it's all about. The other thing is, well, don't think that if you put your hand up to wave to your friend, or if you sneeze, you're going to buy a car. That just doesn't happen. That's the good news. Jules, our auctioneer, is a time-served pro. And if he sees any... There he is, look. He's also got a great jacket. He's joining us from Butlins today. They've let him out for the weekend. And in between doing his cabaret act and stand-up, he will be auctioning some cars for us later. So, yes, it's fun, it's easy. You're only going to pay what the car's worth because you're bidding against other people in the room or online. So just have some fun. And maybe if you're bidding on the Skoda, raise some money. But we should look at some questions. We've had loads of questions sent in already. If you're online, please do ask some questions in the comments. We'll do our best to answer them all. So we're going to start with this question first. I'm going to ask it like a rubbish Piers Morgan, and you can answer it. So we're used to seeing you with Drew, for me, and Tim. What made you decide to work together, and how did this happen?
Well, I just turned up this morning, and Paul was here. So we've come up with a new name for this partnership, which is either Cowtown, which I think works, Cowland, Townsend, or it could be Land's End. Yeah, it's another good one. So that's what we're going with. No, we both love an auction. We both like the guys at Manor Park Classics, like the cut of their jibs, in the individual jibs, and as a company, it's just a great place to be. Lots of space, less hassle. They asked us to come down, and we've both dropped in, haven't we? What about yourself?
It was the offer of free lunch, I think, did it for me. Yeah, they said free lunch. Hasn't arrived yet, but apparently it will. Free biscuits, limitless biscuit budgets, limitless tea budgets. They were the main reasons. And also the chance to work with this legend. I've watched, I think, every episode of Car SOS. I do think you are ridiculously good at what you do, and also a big fan of some of his tunes, got to say. Big Poppy's fan, big Wonder Stuff fan. So, yeah, just nice to be hanging out, talking cars and music. So that's why we're working together. And the other reason, of course, is just money.
Can I say, you said cars and music. You do realise I was in Pop Will Eat Itself and the Wonder Stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. OK, right. All right. So cars, anyway. So that's cars. But no, it's a great opportunity as well, and we get on. We're genuine petrol heads. We love our cars. we sort of vibe off each other when we're going around them and show each other different stuff to look at. So, but yeah, I like working with you. What's your name?
Yeah, matey.
You're not Drew, are you? The other one.
The other one.
Yeah.
You can
Okay.
question.
Right. Okay, I will do. I can't see it that far away. Hold on. Right. This is a question from Richard from Wizard Classics. Okay. Hello, Richard. You guys are from totally different car backgrounds, but clearly share a passion and seem to work together well. Have either of you learned anything new?
Ooh. Shall I answer that first?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. Well, I know very, very little. You're not coughing again. This was what happened last time. Oh, can we get a fisherman's friend for Fuzz, please? Have you ever sucked on a fisherman's friend? I have. Have you? Oh, okay. That's good. Yeah, just lozenges, please, for Mr. Townsend to the stage. Thank you. Lozenges for Mr. Townsend. So I've learned a lot about pre-war cars, which I didn't know before, and I'm learning every day. My pre-war car knowledge, pre-39, very, very sparse, where you, I would say, are excellent in this regard. And also buses, I know so little about buses, so I'm learning every day.
Yeah, well, I do like my pre-war cars, and I love my buses, and I talk endlessly about buses. I mean, can you name a type of bus now?
AEC.
There we go, AEC. Well, that's a chassis manufacturer. You're halfway there. I'll let you off with that one. Yeah, and for me, my knowledge really didn't go much beyond 1980. So I like genning up on the modern stuff, on the modern classics, because, I still love working on them. That's the thing. I just don't know what I'm working on.
Where does it stop becoming fun for you? Because my friend who works on American cars, he says basically 1997, when they start to get too electronic, too fussy, too many microchips, that's his cut-off point for enjoying working on American cars. Where for you becomes the kind of the end of analog, the start of digital, and it becomes more diagnostic and less intuitive?
Well, I think the diagnostics are one of the sides of things that I've always really enjoyed. When I was a bus mechanic, I liked being on driver's reports because a bus would come in with, steering, pulling to one side or another, or what have you, and I liked to investigate what was going on with that vehicle. So actually, diagnostics, that's the fun bit, finding out what's wrong with it. Yeah. And once you've found out what's wrong with it, then, just fix it and it's sorted. That's great. But so actually, there's no cut-off there. But what I need to know with any car is the correct way to do things. Because it's all very well in finding out what's wrong with it, yeah, but then you can make it a whole heap wronger if you and that is very wrong. Yeah. So you can make it a whole heap wronger if you start messing about with it and do things in the wrong sequence or what have you.
And that's the beauty of manuals. I'm a big manual fan. Get the manual if you can for the car. Or YouTube is also very good as well.
You know the phrase to use?
RTFM.
That's right. Read the flipping manual.
Other F words are available. So, Fuzz, this is a question just for you, because obviously you are the mechanic of this duo. What is the hardest car you've worked on and why? I'm imagining hardest to fix rather than like tough and well-hard.
Well, I would say that actually it was it's not one that people would expect. It was a VW Corrado, which had its loom tampered with in the past. Yeah. And it was just a nightmare, an electronics nightmare. It had also had various mods which didn't converse very well with the ECU and all that kind of thing. Terrible. Just leave the cars as they were supposed to be out of the factory. So yeah, it was that was the worst car that I've ever come across to work on. I don't mind if all that's left is a tiny postage stamp sized piece of steel. That's fine. You can build the rest of it around it. But yeah, electronics nightmares, they really do my head in.
I'm the same. I'm an averagely talented mechanic, but if it gets to electronics or electrics, absolutely useless. That is definitely my Achilles heel. Now, here's a nice question, an interesting question. It says both. So cool to see you guys working together. That's a nice thing to say, isn't it? That's from our agent. Yeah, because he's getting 15%. If you could go on a road trip with anybody, dead or alive, who would you choose in what? I think if you went with someone on a road trip that was dead, that would get quite smelly, wouldn't it?
Well, it could do. I think I've probably done that before, though, but let's not talk about that.
Yeah. And also, if you get stopped with somebody dead in your car, that can be really quite compromising legally.
Yeah, tricky. Very, very tricky. Don't try it. Yeah.
So my advice is don't go with a road trip with anyone that's dead. But, I mean, it could be speaking hypothetically, and it's somebody that's no longer with us, and were they able to come back to life and you could go on a road trip with them, who would it be?
Well, it wouldn't be a dead person. I'd go on a road trip with Paul McCartney, I reckon, because I'd like to pick his brains about all his musical experimentation, all the weird stuff that he's done, rather than the standard stuff that sells oodles and oodles of copies.
So, are you more Wings or Beatles? Which would you prefer? What would you have on the stereo with Paul McCartney? Would it be Wings era, or would it be the Frog Chorus?
I think it'd be Bings or the Wheatles. Anyone, I'm all across it. And also, of course, in between there, you had Paul and Linda McCartney. Yeah. So, yeah, just all the way through.
And if you took Paul, you'd get vegan sausages for your pack-up, wouldn't you, as well? Which would be great.
Yeah, I'd have to sneak around the back of somewhere for a quick bacon butty, I think. But, don't tell him.
Well, actually, that brings us neatly onto the fact that Paul McCartney's English teachers, dentists, third cousins, vets, farmers, milkmans, Daimler is going through the sale today, isn't it? The 1971 Daimler, which has an incredibly tenuous link to Paul McCartney, is available for sale today.
It does, but open the door of that car. It smells great. I know that sounds a little bit weird, but it does smell absolutely wonderful. Go on, it's just over there. Go and have a little look.
It's very good. It's online. I don't know which lot number it is. Jules, do you know which lot number that the Paul McCartney's dentist's milkman? 36. There you go. Lot 36 in our sale today going through. If you're interested in that, it's a very nice car. It's Paul McCartney's English teacher's car. I think Paul McCartney had left school by the time his English teacher bought it, but there is genuine star connection there, definitely. Yeah.
Well, I think all you need to do is say, this car used to belong to Paul McCartney.
This is the English teacher. Yeah, just go down at the end. So then people will go, wow, that's amazing. I think that's how we've listed it in the auction catalogue. It says Paul McCartney's English teacher in really small font.
Always read the small print.
Yeah, definitely. But we actually haven't. So you said Paul McCartney. I think I would go. A musician is a good shout actually, because you'd get to talk about stuff and you could get them to do sort of musical dissection of how was that recorded and what was it good. Yeah. Actually, I'd go with I'd keep it musical. I'd go with Hugh Padgham. Then I'd go with producer Hugh Padgham. Are you familiar with his work?
I can't say that I am. Could you give me a clue?
So all of the good Police records, all of the good Peter Gabriel records, all of the good Phil Collins records, and many, many more is Hugh Padgham.
All of the good Phil Collins records. Can anybody enlighten me? No? No. Sorry, no takers for that particular lot.
You can't, as a drummer, diss Phil Collins. Phil Collins is a great drummer, and he and Hugh Padgham invented the gated reverb sound of the snare. Go on.
There you go. Can you feel it coming in the air tonight?
No, not since I've put the nets up. Yeah.
Can I show off a bit? A couple of years, just before COVID happened, I was asked, along with the bass player, former bass player out of the Beat, to play for Andy Sumner's band. Yeah, but it didn't happen because of COVID. So I think I'm off the list now.
Well, that is pretty cool, isn't it? To get to fill almost Stuart Copeland's shoes, because he's one of my favourite drummers actually. I bet he would be fun to sit in a car with. So there you go. So that's our two musical picks that we would choose to be in a car with. But generally, as a piece of advice, don't put dead people in your car. You could get arrested. What's the next question, Fuzz?
Right, okay. So, also I touched your hand then. Both of us, if you stumbled on a garage or barn find, would you invest in a restoration or sell it as it stands? Asking for a friend.
Oh, hey up. It really depends what it is, because as you've seen here, some cars have gone through here as genuine barn finds. There's a really nice Lotus Carlton that went through that was genuinely out of a barn, made £55,000 plus bits, and that car hadn't been restored and was sold with a very honest MOT failure certificate. And it made good money, so you can make great instant flip money on barn finds. And as Fuzz will tell you in a minute, as our amazing restorer, it's very hard to restore a car properly, which will take hundreds, if not thousands of hours and at least 30 grand and get your money back. But there's an interesting car here. There's a Mulliner Park Ward drop-head Rolls Royce going through, which I think is probably going to make 20-something grand today if the wind's in the right direction. It will cost roughly, well, at least in terms of bodywork and steel, about the same to restore that car as it would to restore an Alfa or a Mitsubishi or Toyota. But obviously the end result could be very different. Money can be made, but the hours and the cash you'll have to put into it will be large.
I mean, I would say that it would possibly cost be a bit more in time than that, I think, really, to do it right. But remember, cars are only original once. So once you've got rid of the dust, clean them up a bit, take a bit of time. Don't go launching straight into a restoration. I would live with it. Get it running. Make sure that it's safe, and then decide what you want to do. But my advice is, if you can leave it original, leave it so.
It's a good one. And I've got a question here from somebody that says, Paul, you bought a Renault Espace. I did buy a Renault Espace at the auction last year from here. Really cool car, turbo diesel, left-hand drive, been spending its life in France. Are you using it, and did the speed lines really go on? So I said, because it was blue, I was going to put a set of World Rally Car Group A speedline wheels on it to make it look a bit like a Espace Williams, and I did. And if you look on my Instagram page, there's a picture of that car on those wheels. I really did do it. I really did go to Speedline and buy a set, and I bought them as well. I didn't blag them, I bought them. I bought a set of Group A WRC wheels, and I put them on an Espace. That happened.
So does it look good?
Yeah, it needs to be lowered. I think it looks wicked. You've got to like Group A wheels and be into weird 90s kit cars.
What's this about lowering cars? You're always on about lowering cars. What's it? It must be the age difference. I mean, believe it or not, there's about a 10-year age difference, isn't there? I like them nice and high so I can get into them and out of them with grace and style. Because if they're too low, I have to kind of roll out. But you love lowering your cars, don't you? Stop doing it.
All right, Dad, do you remember that advert for Yellow Pages when the kid was wanting a bike for his birthday and his dad goes, oh, that saddle's like a razor blade. Do you remember that? No. Oh, it's on YouTube, check it out. You're like that man. You're like that man that just, the fun police.
Leave it alone.
That's what you are.
Stop picking, stop messing about.
Lower all the things. Every car in this auction would look better if it was lower, all of them. Right, so if you could pick two cars from this auction, your daily and your petrol pension, what would they be? Would you like to start with that? You'll pick something pre-war. That's what you'll pick.
Yeah, I mean, from the auction itself, I mean, pre-war... Well, actually, I'm not going to go pre-war, actually. So, from this auction, I would like... Actually, there is a car I'd like. I'd like that little white Morris Minor. I've just taken a shine to it. Nothing particularly special. I just think it's time for a Moggy again. So, I'd have that. But from a pension... Oh... Probably one of the E-types, although there are some, there's that nice little sort of violet-y blue Alpha there. I don't know, it's hard to tell. I mean, even that Porker sitting behind you there, that's nice as well. But I can see there's a lovely car from the next auction, but I can't talk about that.
No. I think it's on the May sale, though.
It is. It's on the May sale. Yeah, there's a lovely barn find green Lagonda there. I would love that. That's my pension pot.
And it's got authentic barn find leaves on it. It's very cool. It's very cool. So what would I buy? I think my daily from this auction, there's a beautiful, it's going through this afternoon, still time to register and bid. There's an absolutely beautiful 1303, one family from new. We drove it in a video that you can see on the Manor Park YouTube channel. And that's just a very drivable, usable car that will hold its money. So that in itself is a good little pension. The 1303 are the most unloved of the Beetles because they're considered to be the least attractive, but they're the nicest to drive and they're the most usable. So that would be a great daily. I think pension-wise, I think we're sitting in front of it. I think this beautiful Jello Fly 355. I did a film about a 328 the other day, and 328's nice ones are now 95 to 100,000 pounds. These are still nowhere near that, but these are where 328s were not that long ago. So I think one of these, a lot of fun. It's a great car to drive, fantastic colour. I love the fact it's a left hooker, because when you come to sell it, you can sell it back into Europe. It'll make a lot more money. And it's the best colour they ever did. So that would be my two choices.
Yeah, good choices actually. I really like the Ferrari. I didn't notice it, being bright and yellow, just behind me there. I just thought that was my halo. But anyway, so what's our next question? We've got some questions coming in. Right.
We've got a question from Alex on Instagram. Are you guys bidding on anything today?
Are we bidding on anything today? Well, I would like to, but can we answer that though?
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, because they might bid against us. I'm not telling you what it is. So yeah, the answer is might be. Not telling you.
Can we tell them later?
Well, I might tell you, if we successfully bid on anything, then we'll tell you, but we're not going to tell you because you might want to buy it too, and it might put the price up.
Yeah, or even unsuccessfully bid. I mean, that's fine. I don't mind losing because it's all part of it.
Yeah. But can we ask you all to bid, just in case you've joined us recently, there is a Skoda going through later on, I think it's lot 65 or something, which is a beautiful little 14,000 mile Skoda. Very rare car, very unusual in that condition, original paint. all of the profits for that car are going to the Ukrainian Refugee Fund. So please, if you want a bit of fun, if you want to bid on something that's just a bit of a laugh, incredibly rare, and that you can enjoy at a car show and raise money for charity, bid on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Bid high, and also you're going to come away with a car that just it's a stonkingly rare car now, and you know you'll basically stand out wherever you go. It's great whether you want it to be an understated car, or if you just want to be a bit sort of swanky and turn up in something really unusual. It's brilliant. Go anywhere.
Tell you what, so I'm going to bid on that. I will tell you now, categorically, I will bid on that. I'm going to start the bidding off at £1,000 with my own money on that car. So there you go. We can start there. Jules, you can put that one in the book. Right, so the next question. Is a drum off on the cards? Please say yes. Can we do that? We need drum kits, don't we?
Well, we do need drum kits. In fact, I'm playing tonight in Burton-on-Trent, actually.
Quick plug, where's this? Tickets available?
I've got no idea where it is. Burton-on-Trent with the beat. Have a look. I don't know where I'm going. I've got the postcode. I'll turn up and it'll be there somewhere. So,
don't you have to take your own drums? Do you have a roadie that does your drums for you?
Well, actually, some of the rest of the band have taken the drum kit with me because I'm here today, so they can set it up for sound check, and one of the support bands can sound check it for me.
Oh, nice. He has lackeys now. He's changed. He's so rock and roll now. He's like the Tommy Lee of Manor Park Classics. That's what you are. Any more questions, Sam, from the live?
Yeah, we've got one question here saying, what did you arrive in today for the auction?
Oh, I'm embarrassed to say what I arrived in today because it's very sensible, because I've come from another job, so I'm in a base model Volvo diesel, keeping it real in the fuel crisis.
Right, well, I'm in a SsangYong Musso because I do a bit of work for SsangYong. I like SsangYongs. I've even bought a SsangYong as well, so, you know, I keep the faith by actually going in and buying them. So, yeah, SsangYong Musso, great truck, good value. Yeah, like them.
Love it. So we've got a question here as well. So this is a good question, and I asked this question myself earlier. Fuzz, what is the story with the jacket, and which is older, Fuzz or the jacket?
Right. Okay. Well, it's important to state actually that, you know, I'm often not into modifying cars. You know, don't slam them and all that kind of thing. But this isn't actually a jacket; it's a coat. It was a coat, and I kind of raised it. Well, I kind of lowered it, yeah. I made it smaller. Yeah, I know. Very sorry. It is hypocritical. But yeah, so this jacket, I estimate that it dates from somewhere as a coat between about 1968, 69 and 71. And I bought it in Sheffield 30 years ago or something like that. I just thought that'll look great as a jacket. Snip, snip, snip. Done.
Yeah. So modified jackets are the thing. So we've got another question.
Well, we've got Drew Pritchard Antiques following us live
brilliant.
online.
Drew Pritchard Antiques.
Expressing an interest in the Skoda. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about the Skoda, please? Paul?
So the Skoda is an unrestored, beautiful, original paint, incredible interior, perfect headlining car that was first for sale here a few months ago. And at the time it didn't start or run. It now does and drives beautifully. I think, what year is it? 88 we think. So it's not quite MOT exempt yet, but it's getting on a bit. Nice, cheap and easy car to run. You can still get loads of spares for those. Every profit above the cost price of that car, every penny will go to the Ukrainian Refugees Fund. So I'm starting the bidding at £1,000. Please, everybody pile in, register to bid and pile in, because it's going to be a great car anyway. It's going to be one of the rarest cars you can turn up at a car show in. So it's going to be good value, whatever you pay for it, but every penny over is going to go and help people that really need it. So do please bid on that car. If we all have a bid on it, it's going to make some really decent money.
Personally, I think Drew would look absolutely excellent in that. But, you know, there's a man with deep pockets, so bid him up. I'm sure he'll still go for it. Yeah.
And also, Drew Pete, it's got wicked patina. It's like proper, all unrestored paint, loads of lovely kind of surface rust. It's very you, mate. It's very you.
And those seats are amazing. They look like they're almost homemade, but they're not.
And he's a man that knows a thing or two about seats. He really does. So that's good. So we now need to talk about what is the best deal, the most profit you've ever had out of a car, and what was it? So I don't know whether we're talking absolute terms or percentage terms, but I think percentage for me, I did a car on a little show called Turbo Pickers years and years ago, and it's very rare in TV that you get to make huge amounts of genuine profit on a car, but I bought a lovely Triumph Herald out of a garage that had been there for 20 odd years off a lovely man. I had to make him take 2 grand for it. He was wanting 1,200 quid or something ridiculous. So I made him take 2 grand for it. I spent £2,000 on it, and I sold it for £6,000 genuinely in the real world, not in the TV world. So it made £2,000 off a £2,000 stake. So that was pretty decent, and it was still good value. So that's probably the most percentage terms I've made. But what about you, mate?
Well, I don't generally buy and sell cars. I mean, yeah, of course I buy a few, I sell a few, but that's not my mainstay, and that's not what we do on our TV show. But I suppose I bought a Daimler Dart in about 2007. It's an SB250, yeah, in about 2007. Did a bit of work on it and stuff. I paid 13 grand for it, and I think it sold for 27 or something like that. So I suppose that's the best deal that I've done. I'm not particularly into sales, but you are a car salesman, and I can tell by let's just shake your hand. Let's see, it just slips out. Slippery character. There we go. So yeah, I don't really do that sort of thing. I buy cars, I work on them a bit more out of interest, and then I move them on. And so if I make a profit, it's generally pretty small because I'm no good at selling.
Well, as you know, I don't sell that many either. I tend to keep most of mine now. I'm a terrible car salesman. I hoard them now. So we've got more questions.
Yeah, we've got quite a few coming in. Have you any experience of Triumph Vitesses?
Oh yeah, as in Herald and Vitesse. Yeah, I've bought a couple actually. I've bought mostly Heralds. I've only ever owned one Vitesse, and I do think they look much nicer. They have the much sexier lights, don't they? And obviously the much nicer engine as well. But my only experience of ever, and please excuse me for this, was taking bits out of a Vitesse and putting them in a Herald. So I'm sorry.
Well, I used to own a Vitesse, ex-UK 72G. A Trafalgar Blue with a white roof convertible. Fantastic car, loved it, rotted away from underneath me. And so I almost pretty much gave it away for the price of the new gearbox that I just bought for it. Yeah, so I really like them. I love a Vitesse, whether it's a soft top or a hard top, it doesn't matter. I think they're great cars. They're astonishing because you're expecting a Herald and suddenly you've got that, start it up, you've got that beefy exhaust note, and off you go.
Yeah. Also, I love, don't you, all of that kind of era of Michelotti when he was at Triumph, all the stuff he was doing with that, with the Stag, with the 2500. I just think that's one of the nicest periods of British car design, and I think he didn't do a bad car in that era.
No, I'd agree with you. If you look at them, they look like they're going forwards when they're standing still. You know, they just are just such super designs.
Any more questions? Let's go mad on the Instas.
It really is, yeah. Thank you so much for everyone who's watching and joining us and asking questions. What is the top speed of the yellow car? Do you want to do nearest the pen, see who gets closest?
Many, probably 150, I'd imagine. Depends how fast you drive it and which country you're in, obviously. Yeah, go on. First, look, do you remember when you were a kid and you looked through the dashboard and you looked at the clock and whatever the clock said, that was the top speed of the car? And all the kids used to say, my dad's car goes up to 150. What does it say, Fuzz? Is it in kilometres? It says, hang on, his glasses don't work. He's got his varifocals on today. What does it say, Fuzz? Is it big numbers? So the Speedo says...
200.
Is that kilometres or M's?
Well, it's a left-hand drive, so it's probably kilometres.
It's effing fast. That's all you need to know. And if you can't afford it, see our friends are Fast and Funded, and they will fill in the gap, the bit that you can't afford. So you should buy that. That is really good news. All Ferraris are good news. Yellow fly. I think if you buy a red one, they do look good, and you'll always sell a red one. I think buying a yellow or a black one shows that you are interesting and discerning and different, I think.
That's right. And if you stand with your chin close enough to it, it will tell you whether or not you like butter.
More live questions.
More about the Ferrari. Given the two cars you're sat in front of, then 993 and the Berlinetto, which one would you take home?
Well, it's interesting, you know, because Ferrari prices do not make what Porsches make. It's probably because they're slightly less usable and, dare I say, slightly less reliable. People get scared by Ferraris. The Porsche is basically like a Golf. If you look after it and service it, it will probably never go wrong. But having said that, if you find a good specialist, someone like Shiltech, who's near us in the Midlands, Ferrari servicing isn't that expensive. If you keep on top of them, use good parts, go to good specialists, you're talking 300, 500, 1200, 1800. It's kind of like your servicing schedule. Not that much more than a quality modern car, but the investment value of the car and what it goes up by is significant. And that car will be cheaper than that car, despite being lower mileage and rarer. So, you know, pays your money, he takes choice.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if I was going for one that I wanted to use on a regular basis, I'd go for the Porsche. But if I was looking for a long-term investment, perhaps the Ferrari would have to take it.
And the thing about Ferraris is they do feel very special. And this is great. If Drew is watching, Drew really hates Ferraris. It's brilliant. He hates them with a passion. Well, all Ferraris after about 1978 anyway. And there's a sense of occasion. There's certain cars, Rolls-Royce, Bentley, Ferrari, Lamborghini, when you sit in them, you feel a little bit special. It feels like an occasion. Whereas the Porsche, and this is great credit to it, is so usable, just so every day, that every time it starts to feel like your daily driver. It's still a wonderful car dynamically, but you don't quite get the theatre that you get with a Ferrari. So if you're looking for that little kind of Sunday toy that makes you feel, whoa, every time you get in it, Ferrari.
It's got to be an old Ferrari, though. I'm with Drew on that one, absolutely. So nothing after about 1970 for me.
Which is also the same for Fuzz's wardrobe. Yeah, it's just the same.
We've got more questions coming in for you. This is from Brian Quinn on Instagram. Have you ever restored a Triumph TR5?
We did one on the show, actually. We did a 4A, is what we did, actually.
I'm not on your show.
Well, I'm just saying we did one, but I was just thinking if you've done one. I was getting a read, as we call it. I was checking the body language to see if you'd done one while I was giving the answer. So we've just done a 4A on the show, which was really good fun to do, actually. And we started with a very nice car. Did a few bits to it. But have you done one?
Yeah, we did a TR. Well, we did a TR4 actually. Didn't do a 5, but I suppose it's the same thing pretty much without. Yeah, again, I like the 4s because I like the sort of like earlier design. I'm not so much keen on the sort of like wooden dash in the 5s and stuff like that. Yeah. So, yeah, I'll go for the I'll go for the 4. But yeah, again, an involved job, straightening out the chassis, all that kind of stuff. So completely body off, everything off, repairs everywhere. So yeah, a big job. Big job. If you're taking one on, make sure the chassis is square and straight because otherwise the body panels will never fit.
And also, body panels are expensive. You can get a lot of bits for those. We work at the wonderful place down in Somerset called Revington TR, and Neil is a bit of a legend on all of those TR cars. He's a very good guy to work with. He does a suspension upgrade that makes them really usable, actually, very modern in the way that they drive. And what was interesting about that car, because it's a nice engine, isn't it, that 6? And again, with a few mods, what a lovely usable car that you can just drive up to 70. And that's all you ever need, just kind of cruising around country lanes, 40, 50, 60 miles an hour, just feels absolutely wonderful. And that, to me, is why classic cars are so good, because they're fun in the speed limit, aren't they?
Well, that is true. But I would say if you want that shape of car and you want it to be a bit more leery, I think the 4-pot's the better one to go for because you can tune those little 4-pots up to a fantastic, astonishing degree, and they will take it. They're really, really tough, great engines. Whereas the 6-pots really aren't. They're more of a cruiser. So yeah. So the 4-pot's the one to go for if you want to make it hairy and leery.
Wise words. Got any more live questions?
We've got a suggestion for you both.
Is it get off? Is that from the floor manager?
Would you be up for a drum kit challenge?
A drum challenge?
Drum kit challenge.
Oh, what's the drum kit challenge?
Selection of cars. Who can get the drum kit in the back quickest?
Oh, because I used to get, a full drum, a 5-piece drum kit and cymbals and stands into a 1972 Volkswagen Beetle. So I reckon I could be up for this.
I used to go to gigs in my Daimler Dart, my Daimler SP250, but I didn't have a front head on my bass drum, so I didn't have a front skin on my bass drum. I still don't because, let's face it, you can't get as big a depth of sound out of them with one on. So actually, they will fit into a 2-seater sports car. Oh, also, I used to take my full drum kit in a Mazda MX-5, so beat that.
Okay, I might lose this challenge. I was feeling quite confident. That is an amazing bit of packaging. Where does the bass drum go?
On the front seat. You can't take anybody with you, but the bass drum goes on the front seat with a tom inside it, another tom on the floor, snare drum in the boot. Yeah. You've got a little bit of space behind the seat, so scoot the front seat forward, stuff a couple more bits behind the front seat, and most of the stands not in a traps case in the boot. Just make sure, though, that there are no sort of battery connections that are showing in the back there, because otherwise you'll fry the whole car.
I quite like that. So I think what we're talking about doing is getting a drum kit here on our next filming day, having a few classics and seeing very carefully, because we don't want to tear any trim, whether you can get drum kits in practically small classic cars. I think that might be quite a fun one to do. So we've got another question for you here first. It says, what's your favourite job? Oh, we've got more stuff. We've got more live questions.
Questions in the room.
We've got roaming Mike now. Oh, it's going full Jerry Springer, isn't it? Yeah, Jerry Springer. Questions from the floor.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
Have you seen all the cars here, I assume?
Yes, we've seen them all, not in as much detail as we'd like. We've had a good walk around.
If you could get one car that you could tow a horse box with, go to London, go to a car show, drive in the snow, and go green laning, which one would it be?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because there's not that many off-roaders in this sale, but there is a classic range in the sale.
Good answer, Paul.
Is that yours by any chance? So yes, so a classic range does everything, obviously. Probably the only car you'd ever need.
That was a loaded question, so thank you for...
Okay, there you go. So a classic range, do you know the lot number of your own car that's going through the sale?
No, I have no idea.
Well, we'll check it out. Jules will know, but there's a beautiful classic range going through the sale later today in lovely condition, great colour, good spec, and yes, and that does do everything you'd ever need.
And my latest post is Kate Moss's dog has been in the back of it, so there you go.
Oh, that's Paul McCartney's English teacher or Kate Moss's dog. I think Kate Moss's dog is probably... It's a closer one, really, isn't it? It's closer to the person. Yeah. Much closer to the person. I mean, Kate Moss has probably cuddled that dog, whereas, you know, Paul McCartney has probably not cuddled his teacher.
No, because that's how libel cases start. Paul McCartney has not cuddled his English teacher.
Oh, I didn't say that.
Okay.
If you want to know another story, so the original owner of the blue Range Rover also owned a 500 SEL that I had. Kate Moss went in the back of that and bought it, and it's now part of her fleet. So
do you only buy cars that Kate Moss has either sat in or her pets have sat in?
So her pets sat in that one, and she sat in the other one and bought the other one. But her dog couldn't buy, so that's why that's here.
Well, fair enough, yeah. Interesting point.
So there you go, celebrity connotations.
That's right. Well, dogs don't get very much pocket money, do they? So that's the problem. And I think that we should fight for dogs getting better pocket money so that they can buy Range Rovers.
Dogs' rights.
Absolutely. I'll hand you back to Sam.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Simon. Question for Fuzz. Have you still got your Fiat Multipla?
Have I still got my Fiat Multipla? Well, the answer to that is no, unfortunately, but I wish that I did have it. The reason I haven't got it was one of the people at my workshop, he didn't have a car anymore, got into a bit of financial trouble. So I said, well, use the Multipla. He ruined it, completely ruined it, trashed it, seized it, and that was it. That was the end of it. I suppose I could have fixed it, but the will wasn't there. The fun had gone. I'd already had my fun. You know what it's like. You have your fun on a Saturday night, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, I have got a spare Espace if you want to kind of relive that people carrier magic with great design. If you want one, I've got a spare Espace. Needs a little bit of love, but you could do that.
Yeah, I really like that Espace. I think that's a good buy. Yeah. So why not? Next question.
This one is for Paul. It says, does Drew get on your nerves with his anti-mod stance on everything, or do you agree to disagree?
We do agree to disagree, and what's really funny about Drew is Drew will start each show with, don't modify anything, a bit like you, it's just old people, generally. So I think what we're learning about old people in the car world is they don't like anything to change from standard. But then we did a show recently with a BMW, like, don't modify it, don't change it, and then he's like, paint it black, put wheels on it, slam it. So he's just as bad as me. And also, if you look at his own personal car collection, he has got some really cool, quite modified cars. And also, we both love air-cooled Volkswagens. Everybody in air-cooled Volkswagens lowers them. It's just almost the first thing you do when you buy it. So he actually secretly likes modifying cars. That's the honest answer.
Hey, sorry, they keep coming for us. If you could only drive one car for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Ooh, only one car for the rest of my life. Actually, I'm looking at that Lagonda over there in the corner of the room. Dates from, I can't remember what it dates from. That would do me. That's absolutely fine. That would be my car all day, every day, for the rest of my days.
That's good. A bit impractical in the winter, but very, very nice. Yeah.
It's got a hood.
That's true. And you've got a woolly hat, so everything works. I would drive. I've always had my very first car. I bought it when I was 16. Was a Volkswagen Beetle. I've always had a Volkswagen Beetle in the collection since then. I will never not have a Volkswagen Beetle. And if I could only have one car, it would be a Volkswagen Beetle.
Come on.
That's it.
Just a Beetle.
Yeah.
Man, a humble man there.
Yeah. It's all the car you ever need.
Misguided.
Fuzz, we've got another question for you from Alex on Instagram.
Hello, Alex.
Do you own any other footwear than those boots?
Do I own any? Well, you may not realise, but I have several pairs of these boots, Alex. Several different pairs. Now, my wife would attest to the fact that every other week, another package arrives from somewhere around the world with another pair of slightly worn out brown boots in it. And so I've got lots of them. I love them. I love my worn out brown boots, and I import them from all over the globe.
It's like Uggs for men, that's what they are. It's Uggs, isn't it, basically? Uggs for men.
I've also at home got a pair of Uggs in a similar sort of style to this, and yeah, but they leak. Yeah. Well, I presume they're for men. Well, they're size 12s, so.
Get some big ladies.
Yeah, that's very true. That is very true, but yeah, not often that large.
And I obviously just wear cheap trainers, whatever's on sale at JD Sports. That's what I wear.
I've got to say, I mean, look, just wave your foot around. My God. Were you in the police force? Because I've never, ever seen trainers that clean.
I know. The new news.
Yeah, you're sort of like some sort of special squad, aren't you? I don't know. I don't trust you. Never trust a man with very, very clean white trainers.
It's because they're new. I thought because of all the 80s stuff, I thought if I'm going to stand next to a dimmer 205, you've got to have some Slazengers on. Got to get, dress for the car you want to take home. That's what I say.
Well, each to their own. And please, yeah, just keep those to yourself.
Any more questions, Sam?
I'm going to have a wander and see if there's any questions.
Well, we're going to do roving Mike. If you're here in the hall and you want to ask a question of me and Fuzz, we may not know the answer, but we'll give it a go, won't we, mate?
Yep, absolutely. Well, there's a question here. Got a question each. I'll give you this one. Paul, you like a mod, but where do you stand on bugs? Purist original or resto mod? Will I devalue my Beetle by customising it?
It's a very good question. And the honest answer is you might. With any car, always the original kind of perfection, there's always a market for that. If you restore a car back to brochure spec, there is always somebody that wants to buy that car. If you modify it, you're doing it down a route that you like, and that means you've got to try and find another person that likes what you like. The nice thing about Beetles, there are so many looks that are kind of clearly defined. So there's the DKP look, the Decliner Panzers, which is like the 60s California look. In this country, there's like the late 80s Cal look. There's the German look. There's loads of kind of predetermined looks that if you modify your car into one of those genres, you will always find a market for because people like those genres. So, but ultimately, I would say, even if you do devalue your car, if it's your car, your name on the V5, and you want to make it look a certain way, whatever the car is, Beetle or not, just do it, because we're only here once. Cars are meant to be fun, and if you enjoy it and you think it's the right thing to do, then the honest answer is, it is the right thing to do.
Yeah, I think Paul's got a good point there. It's your car, you enjoy it as you wish. Myself, I would suggest that if you're not sure, go for modifications that you can easily undo. Bolt on, bolt off, or just, adjustment kind of things. That way, you can go back as well as forwards.
I agree. But I'm going to be I know you're going to be at the NEC, so do see Fuzz at the NEC Resto Show next weekend. I'm going to go down to the Volksworld show at Sandown Park, and I'm going to look at the Beetles, because I do love a modified Beetle, and there will be some wicked ones there. But yeah, ultimately, with all cars, just do it the way you want to do it. But as Fuzz says, if you want to sell it for top money, if it's reversible, you get the best of both.
Yep, yeah, absolutely. So there's a question here that I've just seen written down here. What's my favourite job under the bonnet? Well, what's your favourite job under the bonnet?
Cleaning, actually. I like, or basic, Sunday morning, like take a spark plug out, gap it, put it back. Just, that really simple stuff that's just kind of quite therapeutic, isn't it? That's just kind of quite, you plod through it, you can't really, not much can go wrong. So just like basic servicing and tinkering, that for me, because my level of expertise is not quite where yours is, just simple therapeutic stuff, that's what I like.
For me, it's anything that sort of goes a long way towards getting the vehicle on the go, getting it running, and so there are lots of great jobs under the bonnet. But the best thing of all is closing that bonnet and taking it out for a drive. That's the best bit, really.
Amen.
We've got another question coming through on Instagram. Are either of you into motorcycles? And if so, which kind?
Well, if you've got a small corner of this piece of paper, I will write down everything I know about motorcycles. It's not very much. I love motorcycles. I can appreciate them, and I can certainly see the appeal and understand why people are into them, but I just know so little about them other than I don't fit on many of them, and I look ridiculous on almost all of them.
Whereas I'm not big into bikes. Unfortunately, I kind of got out of them when I was a kid because I lost a friend on a bike very early on. However, I do like mopeds.
Yeah,
I think great. There's some great mopeds. There's a little Aerial 3, which is a little three-wheeler moped. In there, which articulates in the middle. That's that's in the sale today. That looks absolutely stonking. In fact, I'd like that. I would like to be going home with that. But I like, what were they, Peugeot 103 sort of those little mopeds that were around in the 1970s and stuff like that. And I've got a bit of a soft spot for Honda step-throughs, Honda Cubs, C50, C70, C90s. In fact, there was a song made about those, but it was actually made about cassettes.
But aren't you like me, though? Don't you look absolutely ridiculous on most bikes? Because the only bikes I've ever sat on that don't look like I'm on a kid's bike is a Triumph Rocket, and the really big Harley, the Harley Fat Boy. Every other bike looks like it's a kid's bike on me, because we've got massive legs, haven't we?
Well, yeah, but, you're not looking at yourself when you're on a bike, so everybody else can have a laugh. You can just enjoy the ride.
But check out this aero. So if you remember the Carver, there was this really cool car that had a fixed live axle at the back and basically the body tilted. And they're now for sale for hundreds of thousands of pounds, if you can find them. But basically the aero has the same philosophy, doesn't it? Like basically a fixed live axle that stays on the back, and then the body of the moped tilts, and they look absolutely lethal.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, somebody mentioned that they were nicknamed granny killers, which is a little unfair and a little harsh. However, I can understand, because I suppose on a normal tricycle you kind of edge yourself around a corner, really, because you haven't got to lean on it. Yeah. Whereas these things, you have to lean, and you have to sort of like lean into the corner. However, of course, if you're not used to that and they take you unaware, you just turn the corner and they'll flip you off the other way if you're not leaning. So I think that might have been why it was, caught people unaware.
It wasn't. What it was, because to get the best out of them, like a motorbike, you need to get your knee down. And when you've had like a hip operation, it's not that easy. And that was a problem. So the basic flaw in that design philosophy was the target audience to ride them, physically couldn't get the knee down because of the osteoporosis and the hip joint.
Well, there's a way around that. That's if you have a wicker basket, you can put your shopping in the wicker basket, and whichever way you're going home, if it's sort of like left, and left again, then you can do that move. If you need to change direction at any time, swap the basket over onto the other handlebar, and it will pull you the other way.
You're like a sidecar combo, that kind of weight displacement. So if you want to buy it, it looks very cool. We're thinking it would make a cool paddock bike, don't you reckon? So it's only going to be about $1,000 or so. Might be a bit more. Bid Fuzz up. He's got loads of money. Just had a super successful series launched last week, so he can take it.
I wish that were true. But anyway, yeah, so that would make a great paddock bike. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful machine.
And it's got a massive basket on the back, so if you're going to do the chip run in the pits for your race team, you can bring everybody's lunch bag unscathed.
And the engine is underneath, so your chips are warm.
Oh, it's like they've thought it through. More questions, Sam?
I think this is a tough one. What's the best decade for cars?
Oh, so easy, too easy. The 1980s is the best decade for cars, because I think it's the pinnacle of cheese design, slides into trainers, and they're very usable, so you've got enough sophistication and performance to use it every day today. You've got, I think, some of the coolest design. You've got some of the best body kits and styling and performance mods that the factory and the aftermarket really started to blossom in the 80s. And they're also relatively simple still, relatively free of too many microchips and transducers and semiconductors, and therefore quite easy to restore and look after. There's a kind of a durability to an 80s car that means you can keep it forever. And you're going to say the 1920s or something.
Plastic rubbish, come on. What are you on about? Of course, late 20s to early 30s. So I'm not going to be hamstrung by saying 20s or 30s. I'm going to go 1925 to 35. That's what I'm having. That's the best period for cars. Beautiful, well designed, at a time when manufacturers were still trying to sell you a car for life. The fools. That's why they all went out of business. Yep, 25 to 35, gotta be.
Any more, Sam? He's coughing again. Is that working with? Do you remember Bob Fleming on the Fast Show? Do you remember that? It's Bob Fleming, isn't it?
Yeah, we do have a question here. It's if you had to buy one car for 10 to 15 grand, classic car, what would you buy?
Oh, I tell you what, there's a lovely, lovely Mitsubishi Galant Lancer going through the auction, 1977, probably the only one in the country. Had a lovely repaint, a lovely retrim. I'm auctioning that later. Did you know? I think that's estimated at 10 to 12. But here's my rationale here, Fuzz, because if that was a Celica, like a baby Mustang Celica, 25 grand. Wow. Same condition, same kind of styling, I think as attractive as a Celica, 10 to 12. It's like less than half price.
Yeah, it's a great looking car, but there are a couple in here that I go for. But I like that little Colt. Yeah. That little Colt comes with a thing that I think has been hidden. And that's its registration number, the Edel registration number. There's the EDE 113R. Yeah. So Edel, well, in fact, I looked it up online. There are a couple of Edelers as well. Yeah, on Facebook. So actually, Edel, if you're listening or watching, that is the car for you. Buy the car, don't take the registration number off it. It'll look much, much better on that car, and you'll look much cooler in that car. So, and that's great. However, any car, 10 to 15 grand, I'm going to go back to the 20s and 30s, because, of course, at the moment, those cars are often at rock bottom prices, because unfortunately the people who once enthused about them are no longer either driving or, unfortunately, are no longer the right side of the turf. So they're real bargains. Try out a pre-war car. Just give it a go and then dismiss it, but not until you've tried them.
I do like pre-war cars. They just don't fit in many of them. I think people were smaller because they didn't eat as much as we do now. They were physically smaller people. Another car that's going through actually this afternoon is a Pontiac Catalina. Don't bid on it because I want to buy it and I can't afford it this month, so maybe it'll go into the next sale and maybe I can buy it then. But that big American cars, particularly at the moment with fuel at 170 litre, don't make the most sense. But for that reason, they're just phenomenal amounts of car for the money, aren't they?
Yeah, I'd say as far as that car's concerned, it looks great. It's very, very cool. You'll look amazing in it. It's too cool for you, Paul. Too cool. Those trainers, if you try and get in that car, it'll kick you out. It will kick you out. So, unfortunately, Paul, you can't have that today. That's somebody else's car today, I'm sure of it. Or it could be yours if it doesn't sell today. It could be yours, but with at least change the footwear. Just the footwear, that'll be enough.
Thank you, mate. Thank you for these fashion tips. Oh, hang on, you've got a text. There's a text. It's your nan, and she says, tea time's at 5 o'clock. Can she have a tea cosy back?
I'll tell you what, that's some text, seeing as she passed away in 1970. So that's taken a long time to get through. Yeah.
Medium and size.
Actually, there's a little hole for the spouter here. There is, yeah. Yeah, well, it isn't actually a tea cosy. It's just the hole's worn through. You know, when I've been scratching my head, wondering how to get something to work again.
Sam, any more questions?
Last one from me. The Lagonda that's in the corner over there, that's in the May
Fuzz's
auction.
favourite.
Question for you, Fuzz. Would you get it running, make sure it's structurally and mechanically sound, and use it as it is, or would you go for full nut and bolt restoration?
With that car, I would barely even wash the dust off it. I'd make sure that, yes, change all the fluids, make sure that it's running well, make sure that it's safe, make sure that it's structurally sound, and then just use it as is, because that is a beautiful car. They're only original once. Even if it's had some work in the past, then it's beautifully patinated again. So just use that thing as it is. I wish I could take that home.
I concur. Yeah, just a lovely thing. I think stuff like that, it's just the appeal is as it is, and also it just looks like old money. You know, if you drive that as it is, but just running beautifully. It just looks like you've had it in the family for ages, doesn't it? And you've just brought it out from the barn. I think that is a beautiful car, but it's going to be quite a lot of money, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, I think its estimate is between £90,000 and £110,000. But if you're looking to invest a load of money, I think that's a good place to put it. Good excuse to enjoy something like that. And besides that, you know, patination versus pristine. Which would you go for?
I've never been described as pristine. Never been described as pristine before. But thank you. And that's it. Well, thank you very much for watching this. We're going to try and do one of these live at every auction. And obviously, we try and do a little one when we come and do our filming days. If we've answered your question, thank you for asking it. If we haven't, we're sorry. Do leave them in the comments and we'll try and come back to them next time. And don't forget, the auction starts at 1 o'clock. There is still time to register to bid to buy. Anything you see, you can buy it online. All you got to do is put your car details in. You don't have to pay until you come and collect the car. But do please remember, it's not like eBay. If you register and click, you've bought it. Okay, you can't say that your kid pressed it, my cat stepped on the keyboard. This is real life.
That's right, and I like that little bit of alliteration there, to bid to buy. To bid to buy, you register to bid to buy. That is very true. It's great fun though, and you don't need to go beyond the price that you're happy to pay. And also, if you live anywhere close by and there's something that you want to have a quick look at before you buy it, get down here, come and have a look and buy it live in the room.
Or, because we're here all day, you know, we've got one of the greatest restorers mechanically, some two-bit car salesman, we will have a look at the car. If you want to email in or leave a comment, say, could you have a look at, we might even do a quick video on our phones and stick it up on the channel. So we're here all afternoon, we might as well work, do something useful in between drinking tea. So if there's any particular car that you're genuinely interested in buying today and you're not able to make it and you want me and Fuzz to have a quick look at it for you and give you a quick 60-second précis on our iPhones, we will do that for you.
That's right, but don't get us to look at something that's too low down so that we show our builders' creases, because we know what you're doing. Yeah. We understand exactly what you're up to. Okay? Don't.
Just get some trousers that are age appropriate for a 57-year-old man. Just do that.
I have. I'm only alive once. Why do I have to... Do you want me to get comfortable slacks like you wear?
Well, you don't see my ass crack, do you? Well, I just like to say, at least my cleft is always covered up, because this is a family auction. You know, people are here. There's kids coming later. It's just, you've got to keep that stuff covered up.
Look, you play the drums. You're supposed to be a rock and roller. You can't be a rock and roller with high-waisted. Well, unless, you know, it's okay if they're high-waisters like David Bowie, 1975 period. That's fine. I'd like a pair of those as well, with a pair of braces and maybe a slightly sort of Rupert Bearish kind of knitted tank top. That would be good. That's a good look. However, we'll work on him. We'll get him there.
Are you two okay to come back live at 12:30 and we'll have a walk round and you can talk about the cars?
Yeah, good idea. So we're going to walk around, we're going to browse, like a virtual browsing experience for you if you can't make it. And we're going to just look at stuff as if we were you. So again, if you want to leave in the comments cars you'd like us to browse over, we'll do that too.
I think actually that's the best bet of all. So while we're going around, stoppers. It's like stop me and buy one, that kind of thing. So we can sort of give you that little bit of extra insight into whether you want to go for it or don't want to.
Yeah. And don't forget, guys, that all these descriptions are brutally honest. And another thing, if you're trying to buy online and you're not here in the auction, if you're here at the auction, there's a little room through there, documents office. You can go through, pull the file on any car. If you want to do that virtually here, ring the team. They will literally open up the file, talk you through it, let you know what the service history, because some of these cars have incredible history, like the 993 behind me, it is 2.5 inches thick. So if you want to spend your money wisely, get the team to walk you through the whole document pack, because it's a great way of reassuring yourself before you bid, and there's a lot of confidence knowing that the car's got a great history. So we will try and do that on our walk around, but if you want to deep dive into the data, give the guys a call, they'll do that. Even during the auction, they'll help you to do that, so don't bid blind.
That's right. So, yeah, and also remember that a higher mileage car with a really good service record isn't necessarily a poor buy. You know, so, you know, it's really what you want is something that has seen regular service, regular use, and that then can be as good a buy, sometimes even better, than a low mileage, hardly ever used garage queen.
I love it. Wise words, mate. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back at 12:30. We're going to have a quick brew, maybe a biscuit, and then we will see at 12:30 for some walk around, and then the auction goes live at 1. So you've still got an hour to bid and buy. And just one last reminder for those that have just joined us, we're auctioning in the sale this afternoon a lovely 14,000-mile original paint patinaed Skoda Estelle. All the profits from that sale, every penny of profit goes towards the Ukrainian Refugee Fund. So please, if you want a cheap, interesting, rare classic and you want to make some money for a great cause, that car's going through. I've already bid £1,000 at it. I reckon my good friend Drew P, he's going to probably put a little bit on top as well. So let's get the bidding going. Let's just put an enormous amount of money on it, because you will always get respect wherever you drive that car. Everyone will know you're the person that bought that car for charity, and you'll just get a cool car and you'll feel warm and fuzzy inside.
I always feel warm and fuzzy inside. You too could feel like me.
See you at 12:30.